Hi everyone. Today's sharing sessions will be how to deal with child's difficulties when differentiating good and bad person. I'm the presenter for today's sessions. I'm Eugenie. Here is the brief introductions of myself. My name is Eugenie Chiang. I work as an educational therapist in Happyland Psychology and Therapy Center. This is my second year working in Happyland. And the reason I'm working in Happyland is because I'm interested in clinical child psychology, and working here can help me to gain more knowledge and experience when working with special needs children. So today, I'm going to share about the tips and strategies to improve a child's judgment skill when they are differentiating good and bad person. In these sessions, I will be sharing 3 tips to deal with child's difficulties to differentiate good and bad persons. First, I will share about 2 strategies to learn to identify people around us. Second, I will be sharing the 3 strategies to identify appropriate and inappropriate behavior when interacting with others, before we can identify is it a good person or a bad person. The last tips of the sharing sessions will be the 3 strategies on how to improve the judgment of the children. The first tips of the sessions will be learning to identify people around us. In a child developmental milestone, the baby can already identify her primary caregiver after 4 months and can recognize familiar people and unfamiliar people after 6 months. When we are small, we attach to our caregiver or the persons we're familiar with so that we can fulfill our basic needs and have a sense of security. Everyone can refer to the photos. Children start to recognize the person they are familiar with, which is the parents, and later they are introduced to the other family members. When they start schooling, their social circles are gradually increased. So children will meet their teachers and new friends, school guards, and also the school cleaner. Later, children will be exposed to a more wider environment and more people. Therefore, it is important for our children to learn to identify people around them from young age. It helps them to be more effective when identifying people they meet. Okay, the first strategy to let the children identify the people around them more effectively, parents can help them to start with the familiar people, which are the family members. Creating a family tree is one of the good strategies for them to be clear of their family members. Family trees can be customized according to the children's own family. It can be designed from children's closest family to the relatives of the family. From the photo we see, it is better if parents were there to draw the family tree together with the child. So when doing together, parents can guide the child to recognize all the family members, leading them to address every family members and help the children to have a clearer picture of his circle. The second strategy is useful when the child starts to meet people other than their family members. The Circles program is used for the children to identify the boundaries between self and other peoples. It consists of 6 different sizes and colors of the circle. It can be used to help children to identify people around them. Let's look at the first smallest circle, the purple circle. The purple circle represents me, which is the child's own self. The second smallest circle will be the blue circle, which is the closest people around the child other than themselves. It's for the family members. The main persons will be daddy and mommy and siblings if they have. This depends on the child's family. In some families, grandparents are considered a close family members to them too. But if not, they will be in the green circle. The third circle includes child's extended families, which is the relatives, and also the people they will be meeting when they start schooling, which are the teachers and friends. The fourth circle is the yellow circle, which is the acquaintance, which means a person that you have met but you don't know well. For example, the neighbors, your teammates, or your schoolmates. The following circles will be the orange color circle, which are the community helper and the professionals. People that we will meet in our community. For example, a child meets school guards in the school, meets the doctor in the hospital, and policeman or firefighter when we need them. The last and also the most distant from the purple color circle is the red color circle. This circle is for the people we don't know and we will not have contact with, which is the stranger. By identifying this circle, the child can have a clear mind of who is the person that is close to them and who is the persons that the child needs to avoid contact with, unless there's an adult that the child is familiar with is around. The second tips will be identifying the appropriate and inappropriate behaviors for children to identify the good and bad persons. It is important to let them know what is correct and incorrect behaviors when they are interacting with people. The first strategy to identify appropriate and inappropriate behavior are the feelings when they are interacting with the persons. Let's look at these two pictures. Everyone can see in the left pictures, two people are playing happily. From their facial expressions, they are smiling. We can see and or feel that the atmosphere is good and comfortable. In contrast, on the right side, the boy is pulling the girl's hair. Look at the girl's facial expression. We can see that her facial expressions is unhappy and feel uncomfortable. Therefore, the first thing parents need to guide the child to identify their feelings is this emotions Likert scale. These emotions Likert scales can be used during the interactions with other people. We can label our feelings or emotions in all situations by using this Likert scale. For example, when a person wants a hug from the child, but the child doesn't want to hug him, what do you think the child will feel? As the child is not familiar with the persons, they might feel uncomfortable. And sometimes will react upset or be stressed. So parents can guide the child to react and respond according to their feelings, such as asking the child to run away. In contrast, when the persons show respect and appropriate interactions with the child, this makes the child feel comfortable and feel good. the child will identify how the persons make them feel and identify if he or she is a good person or a bad person for them. After discovering feelings and emotions, the next strategy is to let the child identify their own body and the appropriate touches by other people. There are some parts of the body that people will not feel comfortable or feel good when being touched. Therefore, parents can guide the children to understand the safe and unsafe touch in order to protect themselves from any harm. Okay, let's take a look at the 3 colors highlighted on each part of the bodies. The first color will be the green color. The green color is highlighted on our hands, which means we are safe to make physical contact which is limited to our hand, such as handshaking or high five. The second color is the yellow color. We can see that yellow color highlight on the parts are slightly sensitive and private from other people. It covers the head, the face, neck, shoulders, stomach, thighs, and leg. Who can have contact with you within these parts? It is our trusted family or caregiver. The last are the red highlight parts. Do you know why there is red highlights and what are the areas that cover? The last are the red highlight parts. Do you know why there is a red highlights and what are these areas they are covered? We can see from the pictures, our mouth, chest, buttocks, parts between our legs are in red highlights. This means that there is a no there. It's our most private body parts. Nobody can touch it except the child's their own. Other than the mouth, these red body parts that were covered with clothes, shirts, and underwear, and even when we're swimming, we cover them with swimming suits. No one should touch your red color body parts except the child trusted adults that keeps them safe and healthy. Let's look at this picture. The girl wants a hug from the boy. And what do you think he will react or say? We can see from his body language, he did not want a hug. Here's an important note for the parents when guiding children. It is important to know everyone has their rights to give consent before others can make physical contact. Regardless of whether the children touches people or people touch the children, parents should teach the children to get consent for others before they can touch people. In other way, people have to get consent from the child before they can touch the child. So if you are the girl, you need to ask permissions before she can have the further physical contact with the boy. If the boy doesn't feel like hugging people or the boy feeling uncomfortable, he can reject the girl by saying no thank you. But what if the person wanted to touch the child and didn't ask for consent? Or they are still carry on even when the child reject their permissions. This is what the children can do. So if someone tries to touch your private body parts in a way that makes you feel hurt or uncomfortable, scared or upset, you can have the power to say no. The first step is to clearly and sometimes can be loudly to tell the person no. The second step, we can go away from the environment, from the place or the persons that makes you feel uncomfortable. Lastly, you can go and tell your trusted adults. For example, In school, the child can go and find their class teacher. In the public, the child can tell their parents or the adults they know or they trusted. Or you can also seek help from the policemen or the community helpers if the parent is not around. Therefore, by learning the appropriate and inappropriate touches of our body parts can let us to be more aware when identifying good people and bad people. A good person will respect your consent and keep appropriate distance and touch when interacting with you. However, if the person does not respect your consent and make us feel uncomfortable, we need to remember these steps to get rid of the bad situations. The last strategy is that parents can help the child to identify and recognize appropriate and inappropriate behavior with the circles program. As mentioned in previous slides, we can learn circle program to help children to identify people around them and also help them to identify the appropriate and inappropriate boundaries and behaviors when interacting with different groups of people. Do you still remember who or which social groups are in which different color of circle? Let's revise again, and this time we will further learn about the appropriate behaviors during interactions. The first purple circle is the me circle. It is our own personal space, the bubble. Everyone should keep an appropriate distance between each other. The second is the blue circle, which is the blue hug circle. When with our parents, siblings, and sometimes our grandparents, we can have a close hug or kiss on the cheek to show our love and care for them. Let's move on to the next one. The next will be the green faraway hug circle. When we are with our relatives, our teachers, or our close friends, we can do a side hug or a high five. The fourth will be the yellow handshake circle. When we are with the persons we know, such as schoolmates, teammates, we can use handshaking, fist bump, high five to show our friendliness. The fifth will be the orange wave circle. When we meet the community helpers or the professionals, such as policemen, doctors, post officer, we can wave our hand and also we can bow to show our respect and express our gratitude to them. The sixth, which is the last circle, will be the red stranger circle. Do you know what we need to do when we meet people that we do know? The answer is no contact with them. There should be no touches between the child and the strangers. For the child, it is better if parents teach them not to have contact with the persons they don't know, and they can go away from the persons if they feel uncomfortable. Unless our parents or the person we trusted is around with us. In all, the circle program is to help the child to know the good and bad persons by identifying if the persons from certain color circles violated the appropriate distance, behaviors, and responses when interacting with them. The last tips that I will be sharing is how to improve the judgment of the child. It is said that the environment setting has an important role in influencing the child. Which setting do you think has influenced them the most? From those slides, we can see that the first two environment settings, which are the family and school, will have a strong influence on their development of the child's judgment skill and was followed by the public settings that the child was exposed to. However, the session will be focusing on what parents or caregivers can do to help the child improve the judgment. The first strategy of tips number 3 will be parents or caregivers should be the role model for the child. It is known that the child learns through observations of adult behavior and responses and imitates or learn through it. According to the moral development of the child, the critical age range to develop good moral judgments is between 2 to 5 years old. During these periods, parents or caregiver takes an important role in showing them the correct and appropriate acts and behaviors, helping them to develop the sense of right and wrong. From these two pictures, what can you see? In the left pictures, when the mother is showing respect and appropriate distance when talking with others, the child besides will learn to judge the atmosphere from the interaction between mother and the persons. Through that, they learn how to interact with others in appropriate ways. In contrast, in the right picture, the adult become aggressive when driving. Children may be influenced by the adult's behavior and follow the same. Therefore, as persons or caregiver, we can influence the child's judgments and shape a good moral judgment by showing them the correct moral values and acts in order to develop good judgments of the child. The second strategy of the tips number 3 is the parent's guidance during the child's development of the moral judgment skill. Between the age of 2 to 5, the children start to show morally based behavior and beliefs. Parents can take this opportunity to guide them. First, setting a clear family rules and routines is one of the methods for the children to learn about rules and boundaries during their growth. Children will learn right or wrong, good or bad. The process will be their reference point in their own judgment and decision-making process. Second method to guide your child is to be consistent with the clear boundaries. This is a good way for the children to learn from the consequence and reflect from the past experience, eventually improve in the child's judgments and future decision making. For example, if the child violates the family rules, such as disrespecting others, what do you think his consequence is? He may get punishment from his parents, or he may get the same treatments from other people around them. What do you think he will feel? He may feel sad. In this time, parents should be consistent about this family rules and give a clear reminders on the consequences of these situations. This can let our children know the consequences that is caused by each judgment and the decisions they make. Children like to play games, so the third strategy is to help child's judgment skills and identify good and bad persons. We can play the social circle game. By using the circles program, we can play who is in the circle to teach the child to identify and put the peoples to the correct color circle. Another way is we can play by recognizing and assigning the good and bad touch or behaviors in each color circle. In addition, parents can help the child to identify and know the examples of touch and behavior during interactions. With these games and the parents' guidance, the child can develop their own judgment skills, which is acceptable and appropriate during the social interactions. Overall, I would like to summarize the tips and strategies that were mentioned in this sharing today. To let our child to identify good or bad persons, we need to guide them to recognize the different people and identify the social circle around them. The family trees and circle programs are there to help the children to know that the people around them. Furthermore, parents are suggested to teach the child to recognize their own feelings when they are in a social situations or interactions. With learning of the circles program, children can identify the appropriate touches and behaviors during the interactions with different social circles. Last but not least, parents' influence and guidance are more important in developing a child's sense of right and wrong during their growth. With the involvement of circles program games, a fun environment can help better improve the child's judgment skill. Well, that is all I have for today's sharing sessions. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions or inquiries, feel free to contact us, Happyland Psychology and Therapy Center, or if you have any sharings of your experience when helping the child to identify good and bad persons, drop a comments below. Once again, thank you and bye.